Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. Got a special guest here, my friend Mike. And I know I can pronounce your name because I've heard you say it and I've personally butchered it and I've seen other people butcher it. It looks like Schultz, but it's Schulze, right? Schulze?
It's Schulze.
Schulze. And I still
It,
messed it up. I
you
was
can pretty much
practicing
call me
all
anything
day,
but late
dude.
for dinner.
I was practicing all day. Yeah. So what's your tagline? Like I had to do like Simons like diamonds. What is it?
I was gonna say you can call me anything but late for dinner.
I love it, dude. Well, I'm pumped to have you here. It's been a wild, wild journey, for you, and I've kind of got to see it. You've been obviously in our insider community for a long time, and I've seen you really grow with Fishing's Future, and I'm so glad that panned out. And then Real Blessed, now you have your own blog and doing videos, and ultimately impacting a ton of kids, a ton of families. I absolutely love seeing it. It ties in with our overall mission, which is why we loved Fishing's Future so much. I mean, it was almost like we both ripped a similar page out of a mission statement in terms of uniting friends and family through the act of fishing. So I'm so pumped to have you. I'd love to hear just the backstory of how you even got into fishing in the first place. Where are you from? I don't know all the origin
So
story, if you will.
so I actually started fishing. I don't really remember it much, but my aunt used to tell me stories when I was like 2 years old. She would take me fishing. I grew up fishing with my grandfather. He would take us out all the time. I remember every summer, the first week we got out of school, we'd go to my grandfather's house, pack up in his camper, do a 3 hour drive to the lake, and then we'd spend a week at the lake. Sometimes he'd extend it to 2 weeks, and we just fish and camp and hang out. One of the stories I distinctively remember was when I was 4 years old. My aunt told me while my grandfather was launching the boat, she handed me a fishing pole right there by the dock, and I pulled out a trout. Well, there was a guy that was not too far away that had been fishing all night, didn't catch a single thing, and he got all ticked off that I caught this trout when I was sitting there waving my pole all over the place.
I love
So
it.
that's one of the memories that I remember, the earliest memories I can recall of fishing. But I've been fishing my whole life, and it wasn't really until I got to Florida though that I really, the passion had grown as much as it did. I have the ability to go fishing pretty much anytime I want, and because of that, such great waters here, it just
Yeah.
drove the passion, even more.
Yeah. And so you were in Pennsylvania prior?
Yeah. So basically, I left California when I joined the Army. I traveled to Korea, Alaska, and then from Alaska, deployed to Iraq. Um, when I got back from Iraq, I ended up getting medically discharged from the military because I got hurt over there. Um, I found a job in Pennsylvania. Uh, when I moved to Pennsylvania, that's actually where I found, met my wife. Had a great job. Spent 12 years in Pennsylvania. Then my work relocated me to Florida, and the relocation was, God's work the whole time. And I say that because 8 years before we moved here, my work tried to relocate me here, and we chose not to because my son and daughter were still just. My son was a senior in high school. My daughter was a freshman in high school, so we didn't want to relocate them. But looking back, that was when the seed was planted for us to come to Florida. We got here, just everything seemed to work out. Uh, and so at that point, I decided I wanted to find a way to give back to the community. I was looking towards getting my captain's license so I could work with troubled youth. Then, 2020, our school or our church built a school. And when that happened, I actually reached out to you, Joe. I don't know if you recall, but I reached out to you asking me to put me in touch with somebody who ran a fishing club or a fishing organization so I could do something with the school there. At that point, my wife and I prayed about it, and we ended up talking with Shane Wilson from Fishing's Future,
Uncle
Uncle
Shane.
Shane, and had a really nice long talk with him. I was concerned about doing this because of time constraints with my work schedule being so flexible. where basically they could tell me, hey, tomorrow you're traveling, to wherever I'm traveling to. And so it wasn't uncommon for me to come home and tell my wife less than 24 hours that I had to go to Maryland, or I had to go to, wherever. I think the coolest place I went to was Rio de Janeiro.
That is cool.
But, so I was like, well, I'm afraid, or I can't say I was afraid, but I was worried that it might impact my work schedule, and my work schedule impacting the community. I didn't want to have a negative impact. And Shane assured me that, hey, we just ask that you do 3 events a year. You do them however you want, whenever you want, and go from there. My wife and I, we prayed on it. We took about 2 days before we decided to do it. I knew all along I wanted to do it, and I felt called to do it, but I had to get my wife on board, because this wasn't something I was going to do without her being on board with.
Yeah.
Especially since I knew it was going to take time away from her. And the beautiful thing about it is I wanted to work with troubled youth, and this was presented to me. And the way I see it is, now I get to work with these families and try to keep the families together and try to stop these children from becoming troubled. So we're actually catching them before that stage. And, as they say, it was an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yep.
So to me, that is what drove me to want to do this. Our first year, 2020, we held 5 events. We were actually only planning on holding 3 events. Our first event was actually really small. I think we had like 8 people show up. I was a little bit disappointed that we only had 8 people, because I had 20 people sign up.
Yep.
But I was told ahead of time, hey, people are going to sign up. It's free. People won't show up. Some people won't. And I found it to be about 20% of the people that sign up don't show up, which, hey, that's fine. If I got one family out there, I'm going to work with that family.
Yeah.
So to me, that's all that matters, is getting them out there.
And are these families that have never fished before? What are you seeing? Are these families that have had some experience fishing, or none?
They range from all over. So, I've had the youngest one is 4 years old come to one of our camps. And I've had a 68-year-old grandfather that never caught a fish in his life come to one of our camps. And then we have everybody in between. I actually have a couple, one of the guys, he has a YouTube channel that brought his kids to come. So very experienced fishing family, and they actually ended up helping us with the other families, but they came to see what we were about.
Too cool.
Then, we had a video produced by Forced to Sea Adventures. They produced a video of one of our camps so that we could help advertise and promote what we do, so people can actually physically see one of our camps.
Yeah.
So, since that time, we've grown. People are becoming to recognize the name Real Blessed. The chapter of Fishing's Future, they're recognizing that. We actually had the city of Port St. Lucie reach out to my wife and I to come to Earth Day in April. They wanted us to be present and to have a booth. So we're starting to be seen and recognized because we are having an impact on the community.
That's so awesome. And these camps that you're doing, Real Blessed is kind of your chapter, right, of Fishing's Future, and these are completely free. Talk about what Fishing's Future means to you. Obviously, I had Uncle Shane on the podcast a while back. I know there's quite a few people that reached out to him. I know there's chapters, in many states. How many total chapters of?
I think the last we had was 62, but I'm not 100% sure.
Wow. And so tell the audience, like, what does Fishing's Future mean to you? What was it? Besides Uncle Shane just being such a lovable guy. It's funny, the second everyone says Uncle Shane, everyone just smiles. Like he is just he's literally just brings joy and just this big old smile into every conversation. But what does it mean to you, and why did you guys decide to pull the trigger with Fishing's Future?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it was taking our passion of fishing and being able to use it to serve our community. You know, my wife and I, we go to church, and our church is fairly small, so there wasn't a lot of places to serve. And so over the years, we've been praying and asking, kind of where do you want us to go? And when this was presented to us, it was like, what better way to serve the community than your passion? Our passion for fishing. My wife and I, we love to go fishing. We try to go every Saturday. That's the time that her and I spend together. And we thought that this was a great way of giving back to the community and sharing our passion of fishing and trying to get other families who would like to go fishing but don't know how, the education and the confidence and the ability to take their families out and go fishing and make the memories that I have. I think one of the most exciting moments I had was last year at the open house at the school. The open house, the school always asks me to be present because they consider me the fishing club, and they tell everybody they have a fishing club at the school. So they asked me to show up. Well, while I was there, I had this one young man, he was probably 10, 11 years old, come running up going, "I remember you." And I'm kind of taking a moment to look and going, well, I don't really recall who this young man is. And then he's like, well, you helped me catch a fish last year at a kids tournament. It was a kids fishing tournament. He was trying to catch and actually helped him catch a bass that placed first place in the tournament.
That's
And
awesome.
he remembered me distinctly. Like he came running up and was so excited to see me.
That is so
And
cool.
that right there just reinforced why we are doing what we're doing. Is we built that memory with this young man that he will have a life for a lifetime.
Yep.
I mean, I'm getting emotional now just thinking about how exciting it was to see that. Or we had another one that we were out fishing, and every time his bobber would dance around, he would just giggle. And it was just this like, innocent giggle that was just my wife and I couldn't help but to laugh watching him do it. The kid didn't catch a single fish, but he was so excited just watching his bobber dance around because the fish were taking his bait.
That's so cool. And so you guys are doing, I assume, mostly little freshwater ponds and stuff. You get the right just to get them started on catching bluegill and
Yeah,
panfish, or what?
so our normal event, and I say our normal event because we actually received a grant this year, so we run the grant slightly different than our normal fish camps. But a normal fish camp would start, and it would just be strictly freshwater, and we actually hold our events at Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens. Um, there's a fishing club that's part of that uses a facility, and they actually help stock the pond for the kids tournaments and for what we do. So there's fish there, and we know that they're going to catch fish. Last year, with the grant money, we actually took it from the pond. We held several events, taught them how to fish. We basically started off basic, a single knot, an approved or an improved cinch knot.
Yep.
We taught them how to cast. We have a thing called backyard bass. That actually is one of the biggest hits. Some of the kids would rather do that than go fishing. And it's where you have a plastic fish and you throw a jig that's on a fishing pole and try to catch the fish with the jig. And they enjoy that. But it teaches them how to cast. Then we
Yep.
teach them rules, regulations, water safety. We'll go over the fact that there are alligators in the water that we do fish. We tell them if you see them, walk away, go somewhere else. So we make people mindful of what's going on. We tell them the importance of the rules and regulations. The money
Yeah.
that they get for buying their fishing license goes back into the industry and into the fishery so that they can continue doing what they do. We teach conservation, so we teach them to be good stewards of the water. Only leave your footprint behind. Don't leave trash. Don't leave anything else. Don't break and tear up bushes, branches if you can't, if you don't have to. Kind of try to be as little of an impact on your environment as you can. And then so in the grant one, we kind of break that down into several different sessions where during the camp, we would break down into 5 basically like a round table, and have people at different sections, and then we rotate them. in the grant, we just do one section, we go fishing. Then the next time they come back, we do another section and then go fishing. But what we did with the grant is we actually held a saltwater event on the at Martin County at Indian Riverside Park. They have a beautiful dock, nice pavilions. We did a full catered lunch for the participants. The catered lunch was important to my wife and I because not many families sit down and have a meal together.
So true.
And so we're actually this year we're working with another school that actually provides lunch for the children, that is going to provide lunches for each of our events. So that way we can provide a meal at every one of our events. I kind of went off track when I thought about the lunch, but it was important to me to kind of mention that bonding over a meal is very important, that you don't see happen anymore.
No, absolutely. I love that.
And then something we were going to introduce this year, and unfortunately due to weather, we had to cancel both events. We were going to do a surf fishing event. And so basically what we did was the people who attended all 5 of our events last year, we personally invited them to a fishing event, a surf fishing camp. And unfortunately, the weather has been kind of poor, high winds, big seas. So it wasn't conducive. And unfortunately, we couldn't reschedule due to the starting of our grant events starting this month. So the plan is in October, we're going to try another surf fishing event. Hopefully it'll be our first one.
Cool. Well, I know you guys have that down. I love seeing pictures of you and your wife in your chairs, and then all of a sudden next picture is Pompano and Whiting. You guys have a good old time on the beach.
We do. That's to me is my relaxing fishing time.
Yeah.
When I'm out on the boat, I'm captain, first mate and everything, and my wife just fishes. I bait the hook, I take the fish off, she catches the fish, but you know what? She doesn't eat the fish, so I get to bring it home and eat it myself.
She don't like to eat fish.
She's tried every fish we had, but she does not like the taste of fish.
Too funny. Well, I had the Mad Snooker on. You know who that is? Captain Dave over in Sarasota.
Yes.
He's probably caught more snook than most people alive. And he can't stand the taste of snook. And I was like, that's pretty funny. He's the Mad Snooker and can't even eat his own fish.
Well, there's one of the captains I fish out with here. He goes out and fishes all the time, and he can't stand the taste of fish. He doesn't eat it. And he's allergic to shellfish, so he can't.
No, that's the worst. If I couldn't eat shellfish, that's brutal. Well, all right. So going back to Real Blessed. So how did you? I see you have it on your shirt there. If you guys are watching, they got a really cool logo there. How'd you come up with that?
My wife actually created it, and then we had a friend that his sister had a cricket. She made it and pressed it on the shirt for us. So being that we're a nonprofit, and then my wife and I had to have raised, we raised all the funds through sponsors such as yourself. Fishing's Future helped us get a lot of the equipment, but the day-to-day funds for running our camps have come through fundraisers that my wife and I have done on Facebook. We've applied for grants. A lot of people don't know, like Bass Pro Shop does grants every year for people. And the first 2 years I applied for Bass Pro Shop, they gave me like $250, which covered one of our camps. We say it roughly costs about $250 per camp for expenses, cost of the renting the venue, things like that. So they covered the cost. But last year they came to me and said, next year we want you to apply for a grant, not for help, because we want to be able to do more for you. So
That's awesome.
Right now I'm waiting for them to tell me how much they're going to give, but they've kind of stepped up and are helping out a lot.
That's huge.
And one of the grants that we received last year, kind of a godsend, if I must say. My buddy, I took him out fishing December 25th, I think it was, no, 26th. It was right after Christmas. He came down. He lost one of my brand new fishing poles and reels overboard. So we went looking for it, and this was in 2021. So there, supplies were still low. It was hard to get. And the only place that had the fishing rod and reel that I lost, or that was lost, was West Marine. As we were standing there at the checkout, I noticed that they had a pamphlet for Blue Water funds, I think it was, or grants. The day that we picked up that was the last day to apply for the grant. I came home, I wrote the grant out real quick, I submitted it, and a month later I received $1,500 from them.
That's so cool.
And so, we lost a $200 rod and reel, but I gained $1,500 for Real Blessed. Had we not lost that, I would have never even known about that grant.
Wow, that is so cool.
So I always say, God's providing for this whole adventure that my wife and I are on. I mean, that's what I'm going to call it. It's an adventure.
Yeah.
We love going out there. We love seeing the kids and the smiling faces and just the memories that we're making. We actually have one family that's a single mom and her 2 kids, and they come to every one of our events. And it's like they know what they're doing already, but they just enjoy coming and fishing. So, she's like, well, when we come to you, it's the only time that the mom said, when we come here, it's the only time I get to actually relax when they're fishing. She says, otherwise I'm running around doing it all. So we enjoy coming.
That's great. And what are some other like demographics? What are you seeing? Is it the majority of them are coming with a mom and a dad, or is it a bunch of single moms and dads? What do you see at the camps?
Well, it's mostly families.
Okay.
And I think the reason why, though, we're seeing that demographic is because I started by advertising to the school that our church built.
Got it.
So it's a Christian school. So, the families there are coming. But it was in 2022 that we opened it up to the full community. And when we opened it up to the full community, we would see a handful of single moms, or we had one family that came with 4 kids, and then the mom would come, but the dad was deployed in the military. So, it was a way for her to, bring the kids out without, being overburdened by herself.
Yeah, that's great.
So there's a wide variety of people we have. We had one person who his son was in piano lessons, and he told his piano class about it. And we had, I think, 20 people sign up to one of our events that were all part of that piano class.
Too cool.
So it's interesting how the word of mouth is getting out, and we're starting to get a lot more people. Not necessarily through the school, but just because people are hearing about what we're doing and are excited to see what we're doing.
And you guys have an event coming up pretty soon here in March?
Yes, March 25th is going to be our first event of the year. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be our 3rd event, but we had to cancel our first 2 events. But this one is also the first of the Vamos a Pescar grant that we're doing. So this one is going to be ran slightly different. Our normal events would be from 8 in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This event is from 8 in the morning till 11. It's much shorter. We're doing less education in the beginning, same amount of fishing, but then we're also adding a lunch at the end. So if people are ready to leave at 11, they can leave, but we're providing lunch at 11, hoping people stick around and enjoy, the company and everything. So it's something that I wanted to bring up at the end of each of our events. We talk about the families, and we're very adamant about it being families. One of the things we do at the very end, we give certificates out to say, hey, you attended this family fish camp. But in order for the kids to get the certificate, they have to go to their parents, thank them for bringing them, and tell them they love them and hug them. But they have to do it loud enough that everybody can hear, and do it as a whole. And we believe that this will help, people show their emotions. There's so many families that don't either, afraid to, whatever the case is, but we make it happen.
I love it. And to your point, there's so many families that just don't do anything together, or rarely do things like that together. And I love fishing because it does bond people. And I mean, you just told a couple of stories of just these memories that you guys have helped these families create, or like that young boy who caught his first place bass, things that they'll probably never forget for as long as they're alive. I think that is so cool. And I love the piece about dining together and having a meal together. It is wild. I mean, in my generation, your generation, it was something that you did, right? It was standard. It was almost weird if you didn't have dinner with your family. Now, like we do that. It's something that I mean, almost every single evening that we don't start dinner until all of us are sitting down together. And that's so rare. And honestly, it's hard. It's really hard to do it consistently. It's so rare, but it's so special. And we get to hear about how our days was. And, we always talk about one awesome thing that happened every day. Just doing that, I learned so much about my kids. I learned what excites them, what doesn't excite them, what gets them upset. I mean, it's so neat what happens at the dinner table. So I love the fact that you're doing that.
Yeah, thank you. That was something that was very important to my wife and I to do that. And my wife's the one that actually said that we needed to do that. And it took us a year before we were able to accomplish that.
Yep.
The first year, it wasn't possible. We just didn't have enough funds. The second year, the grant, they were like, well, we don't know if we want to give you money for food. And I worked it out, talked with them. They actually gave us the grant and said we could do that. And it turned out to be great. So, and this year we got partnered with a school that's going to provide the lunches for us. So that's actually really good.
That's so great. Keep
I
going.
was gonna say
I'm
that.
sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say the school that actually is going to be helping us with our lunches. I have a meeting with them next Wednesday with Uncle Shane. Uncle Shane's coming to Florida,
Yeah.
and we're having a meeting with them because they want to start their own chapter. So I'm also helping, not only doing my chapter, but I'm helping set up other chapters. And it's something that we would like to do. We would like to have more chapters than we have. In Florida currently, we have my chapter, and then there's one other one on the West Coast. So we would like to see more here in Florida, especially Florida. There's so many places to fish. It's such a big pastime here in Florida that we need to have more.
Yeah, another one is it's cast for kids, more on the disabled kids, and that was one that started in Washington because my wife and I have talked about Cast for Kids and Fishing's Future, and she asked that same question. She's like, "Well, why aren't there more of these chapters?" Because Cast for Kids is in the same ballpark. They only have a couple of their events in Florida. It's because Fishing's Future started in Texas, and it's like it's making its way over here, and you guys are really some of the pioneers. And I foresee this just continuing to grow. These fish camps, they're so special, they're so powerful. And what do you think? What is the future for for Real Blessed and for Fishing's Future? What are the goals, and where do you guys see this going in the next few years?
So one of the goals that I would like to build my volunteer base so that I could hold more events. Unfortunately, my volunteer base is very small right now. What I've found is people are more willing to give their money than to give their time. Time is very valuable to people. And so I finding it difficult to find volunteers, especially since we hold our events on Saturdays. Most everybody goes fishing on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Here. And my wife and I, we go fishing on Saturdays. However, we donate one Saturday a month to the community is the way we look at it. So I would like to build my chapter up to where I have a good volunteer base that maybe we could hold 2 events a month to where I'm running one and somebody else, has their volunteers are running one, or, not sure how that works out, but that's a vision to get more volunteers so I could do more. Because ultimately that's what it's going to come down to is I need more boots on the ground to be able to help me do this. I can't do it by myself. And I've taken on a lot of responsibility through Fishing's Future. I started writing their newsletter last year. I stepped up to do that. And just, I'm writing my blog now. And that was just kind of, I wrote down every trip I went on anyways. So that was just a matter of, okay, I got to post it somewhere else. But, every little bit adds up, and that's time away from my wife. So I can't do it all. And what I would like to see is more chapters, and I would like to be able to help these chapters build up. And Salt Strong starting their in-person clubs. You guys just announced that
Yep.
the chapters and that. I would like to see Fishing's Future partnered with those chapters. I'm actually communicating with Mark now, trying to get one here in Port St. Lucie. And I
Love it.
figured that was a great way to get, try to partner with, to get volunteers and to get, where people are willing to help out at a physical club. It might
Yep.
actually help promote Fishing Future more. And I think
Absolutely.
that would be a good dynamic, especially since, Fishing Future, we take people who've never fished before, or people that don't know much about fishing. We get them spooled up. They get the bug. They start enjoying fishing. They start looking for more, and then we send them to you as Salt Strong to teach them how to hone their skills. And so I think it's a great partnership.
No, I agree, and that is that is going to be one of the big pieces of our Salt Strong chapters is finding ways in the community to get families out fishing, and that was the same thing that you were attracted to Fishing's Future. Besides Uncle Shane, is if they got a proven system, right? They have a model that's been working for years now. And it, just like anything that takes a long time, is building the systems and the processes to have, a model that works. So yeah, I think that's an awesome idea.
I think there were over 1 million participants trained on how to fish.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been going on for, I want to say 14 years.
Yeah, it's over a decade,
I
I
could
remember.
be
Yeah.
mistaken. So
So cool. So cool. What is where's your site so everyone can go look at that? What's the website where your blog and starting to do some YouTube videos and
well, I'm not really doing YouTube. Every time I take the GoPro out, I seem to, curse myself. I don't ever catch fish when I take it, so I kind of stopped taking it and just taking pictures and with the phone. But I have the site. It's Captain Mike's Treasure Coast Fishing Adventures.
Yep.
That's got my blog on it. I put some of my recipes for how I cook my fish. Every fishing report is generally either me or one of my friends that went out and we try to give the most current date. And I post 3 times a week, generally speaking. But also on that same blog, if you go, I have Real Blessed on there. And so there on that site, you can go to the Real Blessed page and there's the YouTube video that shows Real Blessed. And it also takes you to the Fishing's Future. It's fishingsfuture.org is the national organization. And that's, people who want to get involved. If you're not in Florida, I recommend going to that website and reaching out to Shane, or Mike Shearer. They would gladly help. If you're in Florida and you're interested, reach out to me. I'll gladly tell you everything I know and put you in touch with the right people to make it happen.
yeah, I completely agree. That was the same kind of call to action I had when I was with Uncle Shane. Yeah, I mean, certainly if you feel called to do something similar to what Mike has done, absolutely get in touch with Fishing's Future. Like I said, they've done all the hard work for you in terms of setting all that up and the nonprofit piece of it, and really just having a proven system to bring families together and teach them fishing. So super, super cool. Yeah, here it is. I see it. So yeah, Captain Mike's Treasure Coast Fishing Adventures, and all that stuff is on there. That's great. Cool, brother.
So
Anything else?
well, I was just going to say, Salt Strong, you guys have been a great supporter of what we do, and the partnership or the people I'm going to speak with that want to start another chapter was actually we were connected through Salt Strong. He's another inside member that saw what I was doing and reached out to me and asked me
Cool.
how I could help the school that we're going to talk to next week. So, I can't thank Salt Strong enough for all that you guys do, for your support. So thank you.
No, thank you. You are part of it. I mean, it's I love the connections that have been made through this community, and that's why I'm really excited to take this, face to face in local communities. I think we're going to be able to do so much more together. I'm really, really pumped. So thank you, brother.
Yep. Well, thank you. Great talking to you, Joe. You know, don't get to talk to you often. You're a superstar. So
I don't know about that. Just a normal guy here.
Okay,
trying to keep
Luke's the superstar.
Yeah, Luke is a superstar. We go out and if we're going out to dinner somewhere and everyone, and usually if Luke's got like Otis, I mean, I'm not even there. I don't even exist. Everyone wants to meet Luke and Otis. So yeah, it's pretty funny. It's perfectly fine with me. So yeah, thank you so much again. Everyone go check out Captain Mike's Treasure Coast Fishing Adventures. We'll put a link in the podcast notes as well, and we'll put a link to Fishing's Future as well. And does Real Blessed have a separate site, or you said it's just all here on this one?
It's on the Treasure Coast.
Okay.
Because Fishing's Future wants to control all the they want to ensure that the quality of all the media that they get is through them. So I'm not allowed to have a special site or a Facebook page. They did authorize me to put the page that I have on my website, and that's because everything points to Fishing's Future. Nothing points to my website to see Real Blessed.
Got it.
Everything points from my website to them. So that's how I was able to do that. But I think it's a great way for us to show what we're doing and to help the community. But I understand where Fishing's Future comes from and why they're doing it. They want to protect their name and what they're doing.
Oh yeah. With 60 chapters, that's it's a lot that could go out there on social media. So I get it. Cool, brother. Well, thank you again. And if you guys leave questions down below for myself or Mike on this, and definitely reach out to Mike personally if you or feel like you're called to do something similar here, especially in the state of Florida.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing from you guys.
All right, brother. Well, thank you again. And I look forward to seeing you in the community. I love seeing all your weekly posts.